Today's story begins on a misty autumn morning in Willow Creek, where an unexpected door opens and with it, a chance to rewrite the past. Willow Creek was still blanketed in morning mist, the maple-lined streets glowing softly under the faint autumn light. The air held a chill, sharp but not unfriendly, tinged with the scent of leaves and something that felt like memory. Claire Bennett tightened her frayed coat around her shoulders as she stepped into the driveway, keys clutched in one gloved hand. Her old sedan sat waiting, loyal but stubborn. She slid into the driver's seat, gave the steering wheel a hopeful pat. "Don't quit on me today, sweetheart." The engine coughed, hesitated, then started with a groan. She exhaled in relief. Small victories. At 35, Claire had imagined a different life, one with fewer breakdowns, financial or mechanical. But this was her reality. Early mornings, unpaid bills, and the same pair of shoes she'd worn for 3 years. She stopped briefly at the bakery on the corner. The window was fogged up, the warmth of rising dough spilling out onto the sidewalk. "Morning, Claire," called Mrs. Finch from behind the counter. "She's still running?" "Barely," Claire grinned. "Save me a cinnamon twist." Back in the car, she checked her phone. 4 regular homes today, and 1 new client at 4 p.m. Her supervisor had only texted, "Big account, be extra professional." By the 4th house, Claire was already aching. She called Grace, her 16-year-old niece, the bright center of her life. "Lunch? Homework?" "Yes and yes," Grace replied, amused. "On last house, big place on Memory Lane, where all the rich people live." "That's the one. I'm cleaning it, not moving in." As Claire turned onto Memory Lane, her chest tightened. It had been years since she'd set foot there, the domain of high school parties she'd never been invited to, held in homes twice the size of hers. Back then, she'd been working night shifts at the diner, not dreaming by backyard pools. Her car groaned up the final hill. Between crimson trees, a tall iron gate appeared, partially open. Beyond it, a mansion of stone and glass caught the late sun like a mirror. Stark. Impressive. Claire parked, grabbed her supply bag, and walked up the path. The massive wooden door loomed ahead. She inhaled deeply. "It's just a job," she whispered, then pressed the doorbell. A click. The door eased open, and Claire stopped breathing. The man in the doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, tousled blonde hair, piercing blue eyes, was Luke Donovan, the boy who made her teenage heart twist and ache, the boy she never really let go of. Claire stood frozen in the doorway, her breath caught somewhere between shock and disbelief. The world around her faded, the wind, the rustling leaves, even the soft creak of the wooden floors behind him. The man standing before her had changed, his features more defined, blonde hair a little longer, a trace of stubble lining his jaw, but those unmistakable blue eyes. Luke Donovan. He stared at her, puzzled at first, then recognition dawned. A faint smile tugged at his lips, so quick and quiet that Claire wondered if she'd imagined it. "I'm from Spotless Cleaning Services," she blurted, voice trembling. 4 o'clock appointment." Luke tilted his head, studying her more closely. His brows drew together. "Claire Bennett?" he said slowly, like recalling a name from a dream. "You still wrinkle your brow when you're nervous." Her heart skipped painfully. She stepped back. "I should go. I'll have the agency send someone else." "Wait," Luke said, his voice losing its usual smoothness. "Don't go." Claire didn't turn around. "There's no reason for me to stay." "I'll triple your rate," he said quickly. "I just want the house cleaned, that's all." "Triple?" Claire clenched her jaw. Triple meant she could finally fix the transmission. Maybe even start saving for Grace's college fund. Maybe things could feel less tight. She turned back, tone cooler now. "Where do you want me to start?" Luke stepped aside, opening the door wider. "Kitchen and living area first. I've got work upstairs in my office. Just do what you normally do." Claire entered slowly. The interior was beautiful. Expensive furniture, sleek finishes, but cold. No photos, no signs of life, just pristine silence. Once Luke disappeared up the stairs, she let out a long breath. How was this happening? Luke Donovan, the boy who used to call her library mouse because she always ate lunch in the stacks, the boy whose teasing once sent her crying to the girls' bathroom. Now he lived in a house that belonged in a glossy magazine. And her, still scrubbing countertops for a living. Claire gripped the cloth in her hand, turned to the marble counter, and began to scrub, harder than necessary. Almost 2 hours passed in near silence. Claire moved from room to room, cleaning methodically, but her thoughts refused to settle. Every space felt pristine, too pristine, like no one truly lived here. When she stepped into what looked like a private study or library, something shifted. The room felt warmer, quieter. Books lined the shelves from floor to ceiling, and soft daylight filtered in through sheer curtains. She knelt down to vacuum beneath a side table and spotted a worn cardboard box tucked underneath. She hesitated, then noticed the faded writing on the lid. Jefferson High, senior year. Their high school. She shouldn't. But curiosity reached faster than reason. Claire lifted the lid gently. Inside were yearbooks, their covers frayed, pages yellowing. She opened the senior year one and began flipping through, scanning faces she hadn't seen in decades. Until she froze. Her photo, small, unassuming, her hair neatly trimmed, her eyes cast down. Someone had circled her face in pen. Beside it, a note. Smarter than me. Her brows drew together. She flipped through the earlier years and found more notes beside her pictures. Best writer in class. No one notices, but she always gets it right. A soft sound behind her made Claire jump. She closed the yearbook quickly. Luke stood in the doorway, leaning casually, holding 2 mugs of tea. Earl Grey, he said, voice calm. You used to bring a thermos to English class every day. Claire took the cup automatically, surprised. You? Remember that? I remember more than you think, Luke replied gently, especially the things I never had the nerve to say. She sat down hesitantly. There was something in his tone, not the confident charm she remembered from high school, but something quieter, almost apologetic. You disappeared after graduation, he said, after a pause. I heard you got a scholarship? Claire nodded. Didn't last long. My sister got sick. I dropped out to take care of Grace. Grace is your niece? Yeah, she's 16 now, smart as hell, stubborn too. Luke smiled. So, still like you? Claire wasn't sure how to respond. She didn't know if the man in front of her was someone new or someone she'd never truly seen. In the days that followed, Claire returned to the Donovan estate as scheduled. Luke was always there, sometimes just offering a polite hello, sometimes working quietly in the same room. The tension between them had softened. There were long silences, yes, but the kind that felt natural, like 2 people learning to share space without armor. One afternoon, after dusting the shelves in the living room, Claire spotted a small paper bag resting neatly on the coffee table. A note was attached, in Luke's handwriting. For Grace, hope she likes these. Inside were 3 advanced coding books and a brand new flash drive. Claire stared at it, unsure whether to feel touched or cautious. That evening, she set the bag on the kitchen table. He left this for you, she said flatly. Luke, the man whose house I clean. Grace pulled out the books, eyes wide as she read the titles. Advanced Python, Data Structures, Cybersecurity Fundamentals. These are expensive. Why would he give me this? Claire shrugged. He said it was an apology. For the past. Grace looked at her, eyes narrowing with curiosity. He likes you, doesn't he? It's not like that, Claire replied quickly, but her voice lacked the firmness to convince either of them. A few days later, Claire was wiping down the kitchen counters when Luke appeared from the basement, his t-shirt damp with water. Leaky pipe, he muttered, holding a wrench like it had betrayed him. Claire sighed. Let me take a look. They knelt beneath the sink together. She showed him how to tighten the fitting, where to wrap sealant tape. It took 10 minutes at most. Life skills, she said casually, for people who can't afford a plumber. Luke chuckled, but it wasn't mocking. It was warm, familiar. Don't you get tired? He asked as they wiped up the spilled water. Working like this, worrying about Grace. Claire paused. We all have someone we fight for. Luke nodded slowly. And I don't. This house is too big, too cold. For the first time, Claire saw the loneliness he didn't hide, and she realized maybe they weren't so different after all. On a quiet Thursday afternoon, as Claire dusted the staircase railings, Luke appeared at the base of the stairs, holding a cream-colored invitation. "There's an event tomorrow night," he said, voice slightly unsure. "A tech demo, then a dinner with some investors." Claire looked up, brow furrowing. "And? You want me to come?" "It's not a date," Luke added quickly. "I just hate these things, and having someone real there, it helps." Claire hesitated. Every instinct told her to decline. But then Luke said softly, "Grace could come too. There's a demo beforehand. I think she'd love it." So Claire agreed, with one condition. They wouldn't stay too long, and this didn't mean anything. When Luke picked them up the next evening, Claire wore a simple navy wrap dress, her hair pinned back, lips tinted just enough to feel presentable. Grace, beside her, radiated excitement, and Luke, in a sharp gray suit, looked at them like he was seeing something he hadn't expected to find. The hotel was grand, buzzing with guests in evening gowns and sleek tuxedos. Claire felt out of place the moment they stepped inside. The room was filled with champagne and conversation she didn't understand. Luke introduced them kindly. "This is Claire and her niece Grace, my guest tonight." Grace was whisked away to the tech exhibit, while Claire remained at Luke's side. When he stepped onto the stage, Claire watched in surprise. He spoke with confidence, passion, clarity, about cybersecurity for the everyday person, about making digital safety accessible. This wasn't just business, he cared. Dinner followed. Claire found herself seated between Luke and one of his colleagues. It felt manageable, until she arrived. A woman with platinum blonde hair and a dress that whispered luxury. She approached their table with a smooth smile and a hand on Luke's shoulder. "Luke, darling," she purred. "I thought that was you." Luke stood, polite but stiff. "Melissa, I didn't know you were in town." "Just for the conference," she said, eyes shifting to Claire. "You're not going to introduce me to your new girlfriend?" "Melissa, this is Claire and Grace. They're my guests." "Guests," Melissa echoed, her smile turning sharp. "How proper." Then she sauntered off, leaving silence behind. Claire gripped her napkin. "Who was that?" "An old colleague, and more at one point," Luke admitted. The ride home was quiet. Grace dozed off in the back seat. As they pulled up to Claire's house, she murmured, "Thank you for tonight." "Claire," Luke began, "don't let Melissa ruin what this is." "It wasn't just her," Claire said softly. "That entire evening, it felt like a world I don't belong in." Luke didn't reply. Claire stepped out. "I'll call the agency. They'll send someone else." This time, she didn't look back. Saturday afternoon, the kitchen glowed with late sunlight, falling across the wooden table where Claire was slowly peeling an apple, far slower than usual. The apple sat half done, her mind far away, replaying the way Luke had looked at her under the ballroom lights. His eyes, blue, steady, as if nothing else in the world mattered. Grace sat across from her, pretending to read, stealing glances now and then. Finally, she asked, "You're thinking about him, aren't you?" Claire didn't deny it. "A little." "You like him?" It wasn't a question. Claire hesitated. "Maybe I did. Maybe I still do." "Then why are you avoiding him?" Grace's voice sharpened. "Because he's too good?" "It's not what you think," Claire replied, knife pausing mid-air. "There are people who don't belong together, Grace, no matter how kind they are. He's from a world I don't fit into. I can't drag you into that and risk you getting hurt." Grace's hands clenched. "You talk like I'm a burden." "No," Claire said quickly. "You're the only reason I keep fighting." Grace's eyes flashed with something fierce. "Then why give up on the first person who's believed in me, who saw more than just some poor kid from the wrong side of town, who gave me tools, books, a laptop, who saw I could be something?" Claire opened her mouth, but said nothing. Her throat felt tight. And you, Grace continued, voice rising, you're the one who made him better. Don't you see that? Claire stood still. You keep saying it's about protecting me, Grace said, stepping back. But maybe you're just scared. Then she stormed upstairs, leaving Claire in stunned silence. Less than 10 minutes later, Grace came running back down, breathless. He's here, she said. Luke, he's on the porch. He's holding something, a folder and what looks like a USB. Claire froze. He came here? Grace nodded. Don't walk away again. Claire took a steady breath, wiped her hands on her apron, and stepped outside. Luke stood under the golden sky, his sweater plain, his face filled with quiet worry. In one hand, a folder, in the other, a flash drive. Claire, he said softly, I was worried when you didn't call back. I thought I'd ruined it. You didn't, she whispered. I was scared, of everything, of how small I feel when I'm next to all of this. Luke offered her the folder. It's your story, from senior year, about the girl who wanted to disappear because being seen always meant pain. I kept it. I never knew why it hit me so hard, until now. Claire took it, hands trembling, her handwriting, her pain, still raw. He held out the flash drive. I saved it here, and added that writing software you always mentioned. The one you said was too expensive. Claire looked up at him, her voice barely a breath. Why me? Because you're real, he said, and I've spent 20 years pretending that was enough. It wasn't, not without you. The October sun dipped lower behind her. Claire stared at him, and for the first time, didn't look away. Thank you, she said, for not giving up. After Luke left that afternoon, Claire sat frozen on the couch, the flash drive lying untouched on the table. Her fingers kept brushing it, pulling away, brushing it again, like it might burn her. It wasn't just a file, it was proof that someone had seen her, really seen her, and that terrified her more than she could admit. But as dusk poured in through the windows, soft and gold, Claire finally reached out and plugged it in. Inside her stirred something she hadn't felt in years. A quiet tremble, part fear, part hope. It was as if a door that had been cracked open for so long had finally swung wide, and she now stood at the threshold of something her heart had always wanted, but her fears had never allowed. That evening, after Grace had gone to bed, Claire opened her laptop and plugged in the drive. The writing software opened like a window to a past life, and in one folder she found her story, the girl who wanted to vanish. She clicked it open. Her teenage words glowed on the screen, awkward, unpolished, but true. Reading them felt like finding a long-lost photograph, a version of herself who once believed in her voice. The next morning, Claire sat at the kitchen table, fingers resting on the keyboard. When Grace walked in and saw the laptop open, she didn't ask anything. She only smiled and wrapped her arms around her aunt from behind. He made you believe again, she whispered. Claire nodded. He gave me a reason to try again. Then she looked at Grace, eyes softer. We're having dinner with him tonight. Grace practically squealed. I'm doing your hair, and you're wearing the red dress, no arguments. That evening, Claire stood in front of the mirror. The red dress hugged her in a way that felt bold but not loud. Grace curled the ends of her hair, then beamed with pride. He won't know what hit him. When the doorbell rang, Claire's heart thudded like a girl on her first date. Luke stood there, wearing a simple gray blazer and holding a bouquet of wildflowers. Not roses, just color and honesty. You look breathtaking, he said, voice roughened slightly. These are for you. I remembered you said you liked wildflowers. Because they don't try to be anything they're not. Claire smiled, accepting the bouquet. And because they grow in the harshest places. Dinner wasn't at a fancy restaurant. Luke took them to a small Italian place outside town. Warm lights, checkered tablecloths, and an elderly man who greeted him with, "My favorite boy's back." It didn't feel like a date. It felt like coming home. Over dinner, they talked. Not surface pleasantries, but real things. Childhood stories. Favorite books. Dreams forgotten. Luke shared his early startup days. Couch surfing, eating noodles, nearly giving up. Claire spoke of nights nursing Grace through fevers and the weight of single-handedly holding a life together. By dessert, Luke reached across the table and held her hand. I don't know if I deserve you, but I do know I don't want another day to go by without you in it. Claire didn't speak, but she didn't let go either. On the way back, Luke turned off the main road, taking a path that led to a quiet overlook. Below, Willow Creek glittered like a field of stars. Grace leaned close to Claire. I'll sit in the car with my headphones. You two need to talk. Claire laughed and kissed her forehead. Thank you, sweetheart. Under the pale moonlight, Willow Creek sparkled quietly below, like a town dreaming in gold. I used to come here to think, he said. When I came back, I thought it was to fix the past, but now I know it was to find what I'd lost. Claire turned to him, her voice barely a whisper. Did you find it? He looked at her, eyes steady. Yes. You. Claire stared out at the town below, its lights like scattered stars on a velvet map. For a long moment she said nothing, not because she didn't have words, but because none of them were big enough. And then, slowly, she turned, her hand finding his, steady, certain. A yes without needing to be spoken. And sometimes that's more than enough.